Nikon, thank you so much for coming here today.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, you are a leadership coach in everything around, let's say, self actualization, personal development, helping people to access their calm, access their potential. But for you, it all started with Taekwondo. So, do you want to tell us what's that link and how did one thing lead to the other?
Sure. All right. So once upon a time, when I was 12, my I remember I was sitting in class and my friends walked in for show and tell. Back then you had show and tell, and they were wearing these martial art uniforms, and I thought they were the coolest thing. So in my head as a 12-year-old, like I just wanted one. So I asked them like, "Where'd you get that?" And said, "Oh, at Taekwondo." So I said, "Okay, I'm doing Taekwondo now." And little did I know that would be the start of my career at 12 years old, right? Actually, I just realized that now. My career started at 12.
Wow.
So, Taekwondo as a young boy, it gave me structure, it gave me mentors, it gave me coaches, it gave me team building, everything you might now call leadership development as a 12-year-old through Taekwondo. And then I grew through the ranks. I got my black belt. I started to compete around the world. I joined varsity teams and I kept going. Now I have a fifth dan black belt just because I love being in that art and that culture so much. And I remember after I graduated university, I thought, okay, it's time to get a job. And so when I started my corporate career, for some reason, I thought that because they were paying me to do well, like in Taekwondo, like if people want you to do well, they support you, they guide you, they give you training. I was going to get the same treatment in corporate world. And in fact, it was quite the opposite. I often felt bullied or left to my own devices, sometimes or many times thrown under the bus, like politics. I just didn't understand, like I didn't understand it, why corporate culture was so cutthroat, right? When they were paying you to do well, to do better for the whole organization. So then I thought, okay, how do I get what I had as an athlete, the kind of support and mentoring and coaching as someone working in corporate? So then I discovered coaching. And back then it wasn't as popular, so there was just coaching. And then I hired a coach to help me with my goals and my mindset. And something clicked in my head where I thought, oh, this is a lot of fun. I could do this. I like talking to people. I like helping people be better. And that was the spark of inspiration that led to, I would say, probably 10, 15 years of just learning, of wanting to know more, wanting to understand how our minds work, wanting to understand how do you bring out people's potential, wanting to understand how do you spend more time being at your best.
So, you started by actually having coaches yourself. And then at what point did you then decide that you would go and do it yourself?
Sure. So after I started learning about coaching and taking certifications and reading books, I realized I've been doing this my whole life, just talking to people and just listening to people and giving them advice. And as I learned to be a coach, I learned better questions and better ways to approach helping people. And I'll never forget the first person who paid me for coaching. And I remember it was like, I don't know, $400 a month. And I remember asking them like, "Are you sure? Like, like, are you sure you want to pay me? Like, are you like you want to go back and think about it?" And I was like, I was really hesitant because like all this imposter syndrome came in. Like, wait, someone's just gonna pay me just to sit and listen to them and talk to them? Like, is that a real thing? And then so I said yes, and then I committed myself. Like, wow, if people are gonna pay me money to do this, I want to be the best I can be at this. I want to be the best in the world at this because I want to give people a return on investment.
Yeah.
And it actually, I realized it came from feeling bad from taking money. So like, oh,
Yeah.
if they pay me 400, they should make double or triple.
Yeah.
And then that's what started, just the deep desire to do well and be good at this, to give people value in return.
So it's funny because you
Yeah,
mentioned the imposter syndrome,
yeah,
and I have a coaching background
yeah,
myself, and I actually remember people messaging me and saying, I'd love to do something similar, but I have such strong imposter syndrome, I just can't get myself to do it.
yeah.
So I'm assuming you felt that at the beginning.
Absolutely.
How did you deal with it?
I I think I'm really lucky in the sense that I have, part of me has always been, let's give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
In Thai, there's a Thai saying, because I'm part Thai, long du gon, which in Thai translates, just try it first. Because in my head I was thinking, you know what, worst case scenario, I would just give this person their money back.
True.
In my head. If it doesn't work,
Yeah.
at least I tried.
Yeah.
And then I did that enough times for the business, for the coaching business to start get traction because then that person had a good experience and they started telling another person and another person and I started to make more money and then I invested in more coaching and teacher. It just kind of snowballed after that. But it really started from let's just give this a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And in my head back then it was, worst case, we'll say sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess would that be advice you would give to someone who maybe would want the same type of trajectory, just to try
If
it
I
first?
now the advice I would give to myself now
Yeah.
back then, I think now, funny enough, the advice now would be quite similar. Is if you really want what you want, and then it's probably worth a shot.
Yeah.
Like if it's something you really genuinely hand on heart want,
Yeah.
it's worth a shot.
And I feel like with imposter syndrome, I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes what I find is helpful is realizing you'll have it anyways, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
And when you kind of turn it into this absolutist, it will happen anyways
Yeah.
thing, it's less about trying to run away from it. It's like, it's going to happen, you're going to feel that anyways, you might as well deal with it to a certain extent.
Yeah. It's like, in a weird way, it's like having a hangover. Like I'm not afraid of hangovers anymore because I know how to deal with hangovers, right? I tell this story because I'm really grateful I know how hangovers work. Because I know how hangovers work, I know to, sleep more, vitamin C, drink water. But before, when I was younger, I didn't know how hangovers work. It really bothered me.
Yeah.
So having imposter syndrome is the same. It's like, oh, I know what it is. It's like, oh, that's that thing where I think I'm not good enough and I'm not deserving. Okay, like I know not to listen to it.
Yeah.
Because I know what it's telling me isn't helpful.
So the strategy is just put it aside.
I dare say yes, not and put it aside, not in the sense of because I know sometimes when people say that, it sometimes feels irresponsible. Like,
Yeah.
well, you have to think about it. Like,
Yeah.
and for me, it would put it aside for now, and I'll
Okay.
come back to it.
Yeah.
And because I know that when someone pays me for coaching, they're not paying me to be self-conscious about me. They're
Right.
paying me because they want value and they need help on their challenges and goals. And for me to give the best of what I do for that, I need to be really present.
True. So I guess it's almost like this backwards thing where
Yeah.
you're worried about not being good enough, so you're putting yourself in a position where you're thinking about yourself.
Right,
When
right,
ultimately has nothing to do with you. It's to
right,
do with the person that you're trying to give value to.
right. And I think if you look at it from that way, at some point for me, the logic doesn't work out. Like, wait, so I'm gonna go in this conversation thinking about me, but the person is paying me to think about them. Like it doesn't,
Yeah.
the logic doesn't add up.
Yeah.
At some point, it's like, okay, I'm gonna put this to the side for a
Yeah.
moment.
Because I think a lot of us feel imposter syndrome
Oh,
in
absolutely.
all different areas of our life.
I still get it. So now, one of the things I do is I teach, I'm on the executive education faculty at Satsun School of Management, Chulalongkorn University, and the Asian Institute of Hospitality Management, both are which incredible institutions of Thailand. I still get imposter syndrome, but I know, again, I know not to listen to it, because I know it's not going to take me anywhere nice.
Mm-hmm.
A different way of saying it would be, as one of my mentors, Mavis Karn, would say, it's like taking the bus. Like if I know I want to be really good at teaching, I want to be really good at speaking, and I'm waiting on the bus stop, and certain buses are going to take me to be better, which is practicing it, which is hiring people to get better at it. And there's certain buses that are going to take me to self-consciousness and worrying about it. I know those buses are not good to get on. And if I accidentally get on it, I know I can get off.
Do you get better at not getting on those buses, or is it as much of a struggle as it is day one?
Absolutely, you get better
Get
because
better.
you know better. You know better. Like sometimes I would say, okay, I don't know why this is coming up. So, as a young man who
Yeah.
did not really understand how tequila worked,
Yeah.
like, oh, I can drink all the tequila I want. Like, oh, that's not how tequila works. At a certain point, this is bad for you.
Yeah.
So as growing up, it's like, oh, if I keep getting on this bus of imposter syndrome and worrying about it and being anxious about it, it's not going to take me anywhere nice.
Yeah.
It's like I know better. It's like, oh, I know about 2 margaritas, then we're good. Like,
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
enough
yeah.
margarita for tonight.
Yeah. And I guess at the beginning,
Yeah.
part of you thinks, oh, this imposter syndrome must be telling me something useful. I need to listen to it, right?
Exactly. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that imposter syndrome wasn't useful. It was like listening to my drunk hobo, like uncle. Like we just know not to listen to it. You know when your friend's really drunk and you're like, you wouldn't go for them, you wouldn't go to them for like life advice.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, are you okay? You know?
Yeah.
So listening to that part of yourself that's imposter syndrome is like listening to the drunk hobo. You're like, it just doesn't make much sense to listen to it.
Yeah, not helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other tricks that our mind plays on us that makes us think that they're trying to tell us something useful, but it's actually not useful?
Absolutely. I'm going to say that your thinking is always playing tricks on you.
Okay.
So that the way your thinking works is we live in the feeling of our thinking, not our circumstances. Meaning that it's like our consciousness is like a special effects machine where it makes everything in our thinking look really real. And when we don't know that, we believe our thinking. And that's when we get into trouble. Like, oh, I should worry about if I am good enough. I should worry if I deserve this. But when you wise up to it, you're like, oh, it's my mind's doing that thing again, where it's showing me things that aren't really real. So our job is to discern what is and what isn't.
How do you know what's real and what's not? Because there must be some thinking patterns that are useful,
Sure.
that are helpful, that we should maybe listen to, maybe even more than we do.
Sure. For me, taking the words from my mentor, Michael Neal, our minds are made, we are made really well. We are made to do well with what is. We aren't made so well to do with what isn't. And what is what's in front of us. What isn't is what is thought. So another way to put it is, if you can put it into a bucket, it's real. If you can't put it in a bucket, it's made of thought. So if I were working with a client and I'd be like, can you put your imposter syndrome in my hands? I'm like, well, I can't. Like, well, then you know it's made up of thought. And then I would point to is, can you see that you're scaring yourself with your own thinking? And it's not the circumstance. And once I saw that for myself, like I really, really saw that, something clicked in my brain was, why am I scaring the shit out of myself? Like that's so not logical, it's not helpful, it's not productive, it's not even kind to myself. And then I just stopped doing it because it didn't make sense. It still happens, but I catch on to it but I know that it's not helpful. Yeah. You know, like, why would we scare ourselves with our thinking that that's going to help us do better?
So is there any, because I'm assuming you'll say, actually, I don't know if this is what you'll say, are there certain thought patterns that we maybe don't take seriously enough or don't listen to that we should? Like in the opposite way?
That's a really good question. And that's why you're an excellent podcast host. Right? So here's the thing. I know we all are connected to a deeper intelligence, that we're all part of the same. We all come from the deeper intelligence. And that intelligence is the thing that makes babies grow into adults, that makes seeds grow into trees. Like, we all come from that same intelligence. For me, that intelligence is always speaking to us, always guiding us. And when we're so distracted by our busy thinking, we don't hear it. And that's why people, when they have a quieter state of mind, they get insights. So I did a talk at a big company in Thailand, and I asked them, like, when do you get your best ideas? Some people said the shower, some people said driving to work, running, watering their plants. What surprised me and the CEO sitting in the front row, was nobody said they get their best ideas at work. Right? And that intro, I was like, oh shit. Sorry guys. And what I noticed is, when our minds are quiet, we get our best ideas. And so for us, it's, can you notice when you don't have a quiet mind? When you're distracted with fear or worry or anxiety or, oh my God, you know. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question for you then, because let's say you're in a position where you're feeling called to move, leave your country or whatever. How do you know if it's an insight, or how do you know if it's a fear-driven sentiment or worry or anxiety that's telling you, get out, run away, so that you don't have to deal with this? You know what I mean?
Right.
How do you discern between something that is an intelligence giving you guidance and fear, worry, or anxiety?
Just so I understand, what do you mean by call?
I don't know, you have a sentiment, it's like, oh, I want to move, or I want to quit my job,
Or like a
or something
sense?
like that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I remember when I was at a really, really low point in my life. I had a really, really, really bad breakup, and I was just in a low point in my life, and everything looked terrible. Like I couldn't. It was a beautiful day. I'd be like, this day sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just in a really low point in my life, and I just wanted to run away. That
Yeah.
was my habitual
Yeah.
reaction to bad breakup. Like I'm just gonna run away. I'm gonna move to California. I'm gonna work at Starbucks and be a barista and have a like, and that'll be me. I'm gonna start over, right? And I for like a couple of months, I seriously considered it. I'm gonna
Yeah.
close everything, start over. I never want to be in Thailand again. And then one of my coaches said to me, you know, Nikon, wherever you go, that's where you'll be. And I thought, shit.
Yeah.
Because wherever I go, I'm taking myself with
Yeah.
me, right? And then I learned that, oh, I want to run away because that's my habitual response to being really uncomfortable. Like, I just want to leave.
Yeah.
And then when I settled, I heard a voice, a knowing that said, just sit with it.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I let life take care of me and heal my heart, and everything got better.
So is the I'm trying to think of,
Yeah,
okay, let's
yeah,
say this hypothetical
yeah,
situation I've
yeah.
put together. Um, in that situation, it would be bringing in some kind of logical thought of, wait a second, am I in a calm, rested, good space, or
Right,
am I in a stressed, frantic
right,
mindset? And
right,
then the kind of, let's say, direction that you're feeling pulled towards, trust it less if you're in a kind of frantic
right.
mindset.
So for me, something that's really helped me is that I know I know what insecurity feels like. It feels urgent. It feels like it has to be done now. I want to
Mm,
control things.
mm,
It feels like pressure. Like if I
mm,
don't run away now, like it's just gonna get worse. And I know that wisdom feels a lot more calm. It feels a lot more settled.
mm.
And when even for myself, it feels like, oh, that way versus that, no, this way, right? If you got to go right now, da, 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 you know. And I've noticed to not drink the punch, if you will,
Yeah.
not drink the Kool-Aid. I'm like, oh, I know where this bus is taking me. This anxiety, insecurity, like I know wherever that's going, it's probably not good.
That's actually a really good point because I
Yeah.
feel like we can all ask ourselves that question of, is this insecurity or is this wisdom? You know, like
Right, that's a great
which
question.
direction is it pulling me? And I feel like most of us would be able to intuitively answer that.
Yes. And for me, it's really helpful to discern, like, oh, wisdom feels calm, clear, and quiet,
Mm,
and anxiety feels like urgent, controlling. And I don't know about you. Have you ever had the experience where you just known something? You couldn't explain why you knew what you knew, but you
yeah,
just know it.
yeah,
It's that.
yeah,
Like you can't logically explain why you're about to do what you're about to do, but you just know you have to do it.
yeah.
Yeah. That's the best way I know how to describe it, and that's been my experience.
So
Mm.
that kind of wisdom and let's say the
Mm.
deeper knowing that we have, those are the kind of messages or feelings that we tend to suppress when we should listen to more.
Right. I think we just ignore it because
Yeah.
we're so distracted by the noise. So part of my work with leaders and just people, coaches, business owners is learning to discern between the noise and the signals.
Mm,
And in my experience, when people learn to follow the signals, their life awakens. They
yeah.
awaken and things get better. I can tell you a case study if you're
Yeah,
interested.
please.
I was hired to work with a tech team, a tech business, and very new team. All their employees were like under the age of 26, very young, very ambitious, highly insecure. And one of the leaders said, "So this guy, we actually want to fire him. So can you work with him? He's 23, highly ambitious, highly insecure, and he's just not performing." So I said, "Sure." And I worked with this gentleman for 6 months. And most of our work was having a conversation very similar to this conversation, just how do you deal with insecurity, how do you deal with anxiety. And in working with him, I saw that he actually had a lot of potential,
Mm,
but that potential is being held back by his overactive thinking and his wanting to control things, wanting to be great right now, right? Like, I think that's part of being young. It's like you want to be successful tomorrow,
mm-hmm.
And over 6 months, he just calmed down. He like really calmed down. And the more he calmed down, he was able to really connect with his clients and really able to listen to his wisdom on which people to talk to, which people not to talk to. As a result, at the end of the year, he got an award for the highest salesperson of the whole company. He made like $1.8 million for the company. And that was unheard of before in that company. And
They didn't fire him.
yeah, they didn't fire him. And so people ask me, like, when they hear that story, what techniques or tools did you teach him? Is honestly, we just had a conversation like we're having now.
Yeah.
Because I knew that if he was able to slow down and really listen to his wisdom, it would take him all the way there.
Yeah.
And it did. Yeah.
And so, what is it that he's learning? Is it like self-awareness in that instance that you think is the
You
most
could,
beneficial element?
I would say you could call it that. I would say what I was helping him do is just understand how his mind works. So I guess you could say understanding how his mind works, and as a result, having a higher level of self-awareness. Because before, when he would get overly anxious and worried, he would just drink.
Mm.
That was his tool to like shut up his thinking. I'm just going to drink until I can't think. Or I'm going to stress myself out. And even saying that out loud, we both know that that's not sustainable or productive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the thing that, because you said knowing how his mind works,
Right.
right? What is something that most people don't understand about their mind that you wish we did?
That, or there's two things.
Yeah.
The first thing is we live in the feeling of our thinking, not our circumstances. And to talk more to that is everything you're feeling is coming from your own thinking, not from the circumstances around you. If you feel anxious or you feel worried, it's not the situation, it's your thinking about the situation. And the second thing would be if people learned not to be afraid of their experiences or not be afraid of their thinking, that alone would change the world. Because so much of what we do, our decisions, our behavior, comes from fear.
Yeah.
It comes from just fear of not being good enough, fear of fill in the blank. And when you operate in life not from that, your life takes a very different route. Your decisions change. You don't want so much because you're good.
Yeah.
Then, even for example, some people might say, well, if I don't have this fear, I'm not going to be successful, which is very, very common. If you're trying to create a business because you think you're not good enough, that feeling goes into the business, and your business ends up feeling very needy or like desperate. Like you're trying so hard to prove that you're good enough through building this business, and you end up pushing it and burning out. And on the other side, if you're building a business because you really like the thing your business does, like you really like helping people and your business is a great way to do that, it has a very different feeling to it. It's filled with love and ease and grace just because that's where you're coming from.
It's interesting because to play devil's advocate,
Sure.
one of my favorite roles. So at one point, I remember telling this to my brother ages ago. I remember saying, you know what, I just feel like I don't have the same kind of drive that I used to.
Right.
And he was telling me, he's like, I think it's because you're really happy.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I didn't have as much of a drive to make massive change in my life because I was in a place where I was like, you know what, I could keep going like this.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to how that fits in with what you just said, because in that moment, what I was thinking to myself is, it's true, like, because I was feeling quite content, I didn't necessarily have the same kind of, I want to change things, I want to push through, and feeling super driven and motivated, which is a feeling I like feeling driven and motivated. But I think at that point, I was also feeling just very, like, calm, settled, and you know what, I could keep going like this, and I'm very happy. So I thought it was an interesting mix where all of a sudden I did realize a little bit of dissatisfaction in your life can also be a positive driver. Do you agree with that, or?
Yeah, let me speak to what you said is, first of all, that's brilliant, because you've gotten out of the matrix, because we're taught to run on motivation and drive. Like, if you're not doing that, you're doing something wrong. Like, to be successful, these are what you should do, and that's not how things work. It's perfectly okay to create from this nice, gentle feeling of ease and quiet, calm feeling. If anything, it's probably better for you. It's healthier. And
but will you go as far Is my question. I actually
So
don't know
throw it
what's the
back,
question.
right? That's it. Because if you were coming from a feeling of fear of like, oh, if I don't go super far all the way, I'm not going to be good enough.
Mm-hmm.
There's no end to it.
Yeah.
There's no enough
Mm-hmm.
to it. But if you're coming from this place of I'm already good, I'm happy, I love my life, I'm just doing this because I like to it, life will take you.
Mm-hmm.
For me, because I used to be like that. As a Taekwondo athlete, gold medals only.
Yeah.
Olympic gold medal, world champ, that was the goal. So if I didn't get that, I was a piece of shit,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this dark thing happened where I would win gold medals and I would be like, okay, cool, what's the next one? What's the next medal? What's the next medal? I couldn't enjoy the sport. And finally, until I got to the end of my career, where like I knew I wasn't going to be Olympian, I knew I wasn't going to be a world champion. I just wanted to enjoy the sport while my body could let me play it. Best performance ever. Most enjoyable taekwondo I've ever played because I stopped being so driven and I started enjoying the sport. And I thought, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I wish I knew this in my early 20s that to be really good at something, you have to enjoy it,
Yeah.
right? And now, because I'm 38 now, and now my focus is business and impact,
Yeah.
I I do things because I genuinely want to do them.
Yeah.
And how far they go, I don't know, but I'll probably take it as far as I want it, as I'm willing to take it, as long as it, like I feel aligned with it. There's a beautiful quote by Mother Teresa, and she said, "I'm a pen in the hand of a writing God, writing a love letter to the world." So a lot of people who arrive at where you're speaking from, there's this feeling of being used by a purpose, recognized as a mighty one.
Mm.
It's like you're being used to bring something forth into the world. Then it's no longer about you or your insecurities. It's you're bringing to life this thing that wants to bring to life. So one of the things I'm doing, my social project is called the Three Principles Thailand Community, where in Thai language we're just sharing everyday psychology that helps people understand how their minds work so they can have a less stressful, anxious, more productive life. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing too fancy, nothing too deep, just this is how it works. And I felt called to do that.
Yeah.
I felt called to share what I've learned from all my teachers who are counselors and psychiatrists, psychologists, to share it in Thai because it doesn't exist.
True. 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 Okay, so going back to what you were saying, because I thought that was interesting about how when you're doing it from a place
Mm.
of, yeah, I guess where you're being called to
Mm.
do it, but also it feels easy, it
Mhm.
feels natural, it flows,
Yeah.
it'll actually,
Yeah.
you'll get a better result to a certain extent.
Yeah, it's like cleaner fuel.
Yeah.
You go further, faster.
How do you see that in your clients? Because I feel like if you're dealing with a lot
Mhm.
of CEOs or C-suite or whatnot,
Yeah.
there's a lot of being driven from a place of, I want
Mm.
to prove myself,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or it's fueled maybe by anger, it's fueled by resentment. There's a lot of that, which I think, I don't know how you see it, but I almost see it as you say, like clean fuel. Maybe it's almost like high speed fuel, where
Yeah, yeah.
there's a shorter fuse,
Hmm.
but maybe it's more like a short run that goes
Right,
further.
and then
Do you see what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, 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 and then it burns out, right,
Exactly.
right, and then
How do you see that in your clients? And do you help them then find a motivation that is more sustainable and comes from a place of less force and anger?
I would say that the clients who do come to me realize that whatever they were doing isn't really, if they were honest, like it wasn't really working for them and it's not sustainable. Like it might be successful, but they're sad and they're tired and they're quietly unsatisfied with their life and they're like they know that their best thinking and their best tools got them here. So there has to be something else. You might even call them seekers, like they're seeking something deeper.
Hmm.
And so when they come to me and we just have a simple conversation about how their minds work, and then from that understanding, they go, "Oh, I see." And then everything else they were doing, it stops being logical to make sense. It stops making sense to them to do that. It stops making sense to be so mean to themselves, to be so hard on themselves and others in order to succeed.
Mm.
Because they know it might take them fast, but it's not going to take them far.
Mm.
And they want to be in this in the long game,
Yeah.
right? Like they have legacies they want to create. They want to create a positive impact in their worlds. They want to have better relationships. I was talking to one client where bless her heart. She came to me and she sent me a picture of her brainstorm map of all the things she wanted to talk to me about, and it was like 20 different things.
Yeah.
And then as she was talking to me and she started talking about it, I noticed she started talking faster and faster. Well, what about this and what about that? And well, then I'm worried about this, but if I get that job, and I I lost my voice that day, so I could only speak really slowly and calmly, and I said to her, I don't think you know how fast your thinking is going.
Mm.
And she stopped. She was, oh, you're right. Like she heard it. She heard it deeply. It's like my thinking is going so fast and I'm struggling to keep up, and that's why I'm tired
Mm.
and I'm frustrated. And then my second question after that was, do you think your thinking takes up energy? She said, absolutely. I'm like, that's why you're tired. It's not your job. You're tired because just so fast.
100%.
And her husband was sitting with her, and his eyes widened. He's like, oh, that's right. She does get caught up. And that changed their relationship, because now when she gets caught up, her husband has a lot more patience and grace with her. It's like, oh, you're just caught up. You're not, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like what you said before about we live the experiences, not necessarily what we're physically living in this world,
Yeah.
we live the experiences in our head.
Mm.
And a lot of us are, yes, we have, let's say long days at work, but then if you're in your mind still at work for the rest of the evening and while you're asleep,
Yeah.
then you are there 24 hours a day.
Exactly.
So it's less about actually the time you're there, it's also can you not be there in your head when you are not
Right.
physically there?
Right. And what that is about is someone might ask, well, if I don't do that, I'm not responsible. I have so much on my plate. I'm a leader. I have people to manage. It's really a premise that's not true. Is the more you think about something, the better it will get.
Mm,
But that's just not
not
true. And we learn that because if you ask anybody where do you get your best ideas, it's when they're not thinking about stuff.
True.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, the shower, right? Or driving, or running, or walking, because you're not thinking about stuff. That's when, if you think about it, there's when there's more space in your mind, there's more space for insights to come in, or for at least you to notice them. But if your glass is always full with your thinking, there's no space for new thought to come in.
And that kind of questions this whole idea of, oh, it's more productive if I'm thinking about work and I'm writing things down and I don't switch off, and it seems quote unquote selfish or irresponsible to take myself out to go for a run, except that's when you'll get the ideas that will actually move the needle.
Yeah.
So it kind of breaks down that whole thinking, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's how we're designed to work. And when we align ourselves with how we are naturally designed to function, we do really well.
Mm-hmm.
And when we don't do that, we don't do so well.
So how do we get back to how we are naturally designed to function, considering the fact that our modern day life is so far removed from anything we were designed to
Right,
be in
right,
terms
right.
of information, sounds, people, stimulus, even just sometimes I think about it, it's like most of us spend maybe 9 hours a day sat on like a right angle chair in front of a screen,
Yeah.
not moving, not interacting with people. Like that is so far away from what we were built to be.
Hmm.
So how do we get back to how we should function, knowing that our environment could be further away and it's not going to get any closer?
I would say listen to this podcast a few times. Right? It's like learning how it works is so important. Understanding how your mind works. Like, oh, I'm living in the feeling of my thinking, not my circumstances. So I want to be really curious about that. Like if I were to consider that word to be true, what does that mean for me? So maybe I don't hate my job. Maybe I just don't like the thinking I have about my job. And if I'm able to, okay, so you're telling me if I'm in a quieter state of mind, I'll get ideas on what to do with my life. Like, okay, you know what, maybe I'll go for a walk. I'll take a shower. And then, like, oh, actually, what I really want to do is I want to be a goose farmer. I got that from a meme this morning. It was like this guy who was like vice president of a product at Google, and then his next thing was goose farmer, and it was like ultimate flex, right? It's like, oh, what I actually want to do is I want to be a goose farmer. I want to grow vegetables. Like, okay, go do that. Or actually, I really want to be good at this. I
Yeah.
really want to see how much impact I can make at my job. And a great mentor once said to me, Elsie Spittle said, let wisdom mentor you and guide you. Let your deeper knowing guide you. Let your deeper wisdom guide you on what's good for you. We do it all the time. We just don't know it. And something you said earlier about your body's really good at telling you what it wants. It's like, oh, you want vegetables. You want protein. If you listen to life, life will tell you.
And that's the thing, is that we never ask ourselves the question, right? Even just the simple question of, what is it that I really genuinely need right now?
Right.
Like I have a 30-minute block. What is it that I need? What is it that my body needs? What is it that my mind needs? I mean, we never even ask ourselves the question.
Right. I'll tell you one of the most profound things. Again, I have like buckets of quotes because I love that stuff. Michael Neal, he said, when people are unhappy and insecure, they want things that will make them happy and feel secure. When people are happy, they want what they want. They want what they really want. So again, like when people are feeling unhappy and insecure and afraid, I want to immediately solve that problem. So I want things that will make me happy and secure. And if gratification. If I think if I think what's going to do that really quickly is alcohol, drugs, sex, whatever, I'm going to go do that. If it's money, I'm going to go do that. And when I'm actually okay to what you described, what I want changes because that's what I really want. And I will
to know what you really want, you have to reach that level of happiness?
I would say, I'm going to say this, you have to know where to look to find happiness. And for me, happiness, you don't have to get what you want to be happy. Happiness is this, for me, my definition of happiness has changed. Before it used to be, I'm so happy, like hyped up, and I was like, okay, that's unhealthy. Like that's excited. For me, happiness, now it feels like this quiet, gentle feeling of contentment where like, I'm good. If I don't get what I want, okay. If I get what I want, also cool. And that has really changed the game for me.
Yeah.
I will say this though. I think this is probably more obvious to women than men. Like the way marketing is designed for women is vicious.
Yeah.
It's designed to make you feel like you're not good enough, not pretty enough, so that you'll buy this to make you feel this. For men, it's like, you buy this car, you'll have this, you're successful, or watch, whatever. But women, it's more like, you're not pretty. If people catch on to that, then it doesn't bother them so much. Like, oh, that's this thing where it's making me think, yeah, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
It breaks the hold it has on you.
It breaks the habit. Yeah. That's it. What, like, if people just understood what you just said, that's it. You have a great life. The second you realize it, your habitual thinking, it breaks the hold because you're like, oh, it's not what I want.
And also knowing what impact it has on you, right? Because it might not necessarily immediately. The thing is, sometimes there's like a distorted element. You might, let's say, watch something or consume content online, and then an hour later you're like, why do I feel like shit? So it's actually being able to draw the link to something that isn't necessarily immediate, and it's like, oh, I have this sentiment, like what you said earlier about, I know what it feels like to feel insecure.
Yeah.
Right? And I've kind of connected the dots of when it is that I'm feeling a bit low, it means I'm feeling insecure. And that's not obvious. That's something you have to learn about yourself.
So one thing someone who's listening to this could take away is to just make a list, take a piece of paper, draw a line in the middle, and on the left side write, how do I feel and how do I act when I'm worried?
Yeah.
And on the other side, how do I feel and how do I act when I'm not worried?
Yeah.
And just write it down, journal, and then look at it and ask yourself, like, how do you want to feel and act?
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but for me, I usually tend to lean towards I like the way I feel and act when I'm not worried.
Yeah.
So when I know when I'm acting and feeling out of sorts, like, oh, I'm worried, like I'm not myself.
Yeah. So let's touch on that a little bit, because you said earlier, in a let's say general way, don't necessarily always believe the thoughts that are in your head, and thinking will make you experience things that are not necessarily right in front of you. And it seems, quote unquote, obvious to say, just get out of your head, take time off, don't necessarily go in loops. But somebody who's, let's say, kind of a chronic worrier or finds themselves constantly stressed about things or feeling constantly anxious, I mean, what can they actually do if they say, look, Nikon, I've tried. I've tried to meditate, but the thoughts go even faster in my head. I've tried taking myself for a walk, but that doesn't shut off my mind. What can I actually do if I can't get my mind to quiet? What do you say?
I would point them to first notice that like wanting to do something really urgently is a sign that they're worried. Like that's how they know they're not in a good state of mind, and that's a premise we have. I think in this day and age that you always have to do something. Oftentimes the answer is not to do anything. So for people like that, for someone who's listening who is in that, who has that going on, chronic worry, overthinking is they naturally don't do that. They just don't know it. For example, when they're talking to a friend, when they're watching a movie, when they're having a cup of tea, like or they're listening to their favorite music, they're not chronically worried or thinking about it. It's, they have mental health. They just don't know it. And for them to notice like, oh, like, yeah, my mind doesn't worry all the time. And for them just to notice it. And for me, worry and anxiety is simply a habit of scaring yourself with your own thinking. Thinking that it's helpful, it's useful, it means you care, and that's not true. So my thesis is worry is optional. Like, I'll even put this question on the table. Like, think of one situation where worry will make it better or more positive, right? As something just to put on. And usually clients might say, well, I want to worry a little bit. Like, that's fine. Everything in moderation. But not to the point where it's harming you.
So why do they want to worry a little bit? Like, if the whole idea is that it's 100% of the time not useful,
right?
What's the point of worrying a little bit? Like, is there any use in it all? Has anyone ever said, like, I'm glad I worried a bit because then at least, I don't know, I called up my kid to check up on them and I don't know.
I would say they want to worry a little bit because it's familiar. It feels like the right thing to do. And then, because once you let go of worry, then you get into discernment where you have that, remember that we were talking about built-in intelligence where you just know. Like, you just know, like, I need to call my kid right now. I don't know why I need to call him, but I need to call him, and it's the right thing. Or you're doing business with someone, and you just have a funny feeling about this person, and you do some checking, like, oh, I was right, this person is a total scam artist. Like, you just have this knowing that comes over. For me, I've recently learned to rely on that more than my intellectual worry.
What's the difference? Like, how do you know the difference? Because to me, it seems very similar.
Sure. For me, intellect versus wisdom. We'll say intellect versus intelligence. Intellect to me, it feels more heady. It feels like here, like I'm in my head. It feels like I'm trying to work things out, like you're trying to work out a Rubik's Cube. It feels like I'm trying to solve or fix something. Intelligence feels more calmer, more quieter. It just feels like I know. I can't always explain why I know it. I just know it. Like I can't describe it. Actually, I can. Sorry. It's a feeling. It's a quieter, calm feeling. But my intellect feels more active. Okay, that's a good way to put it. Active mind, passive mind. Active mind figuring out. It feels heavy. It feels urgent. Right now, I gotta find the answer. Passive feels more laid back. It feels more like the feeling you have when you're taking a shower, you're going for a drive. But like right now, this is a very passive feeling. Like neither of us are overly aggressive. We're just genuinely curious and we're reflecting on things. And there's a flow to this conversation that isn't forced or fake. It's very natural. Your natural curiosity and my natural curiosity, and there's a feeling to this that if the person listening to it checks in, they can feel the feeling of this conversation.
So I have a question then, because I'm very interested in personality psychology and also how that ties into kind of evolution. And I'd always read that women tend to grow more and more anxious with time. And also the reason why that is from an evolutionary standpoint is because there's a benefit for women to be more anxious with the correlation with, let's say, the survival of the next generation. So a mother who is more anxious is going to be more preoccupied with their child, and therefore that's why we've evolved that way to help procreation of our species, essentially. So that would suggest that there's a positive or needed element to that anxiety. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I wonder, right? Because I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if what you're talking about is this innate sense of care and for lack of a better word, just taking care of things. Like, oh, I want to procreate. I should watch out for my kid, make sure they're safe.
Yeah.
For me, anxiousness and worry is different from that. Anxiousness and worry it's like overthinking and like, well, what if this, what if this, what if this?
Yeah.
And innate care is, oh, I hope my kid is getting enough to eat. I hope this household is okay. It's a different feeling. But
so the anxiety and the worry is more kind of analytical.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah. Okay. Like what you said with maybe in that case, then that anxiety would be more the discernment.
Right. Discernment, you get a sense about things, following the inclinations, and if it feels overly analytical, you're in your head. So I once watched a great coaching session with my mentor, Michael Neal, and a client, and this client was going, well, what if this? What if this? Like, what if? And for me at the time, it looked bad, like, yeah, what if that, Michael, you know?
Yeah.
And he said to her, I'm not going to help you solve problems that don't exist. And I was like, is he allowed to say that? Like, is that, you can do that in a coaching session? And then I heard it, I'm like, oh, he's right.
Yeah.
He said, I'll help you with what you're dealing with right now, but not with what's made up.
Yeah.
Because that might be entertaining, but it's not going to help you. And recently, we watched that. It was a live interview with it was President Trump, and I think it was a representative of China or Japan, I don't remember. And somebody asked him, the representative of China, said, if President Trump introduces this tariff, what will you do? And the representative got really quiet and he said, I'm not going to answer questions about things that haven't happened yet. It's so smart. I was like, that guy knows. That guy, so smart. Because it's true. It's like, I don't know. It hasn't happened yet. Yeah.
And I'll deal with it at the best of my ability when that situation presents itself.
That. And I don't think people give enough credit to the best of their abilities in the moment. Yeah. If people knew how creative, genius, innovative their best was in the moment, they wouldn't worry so much.
Because there's a higher intelligence guiding us in those critical moments, something that we'll never fully understand.
Yeah.
Nor be able to predict what that would be like.
Yeah. And so what my mentor would say, it's 100% reliable. You can always rely on it. It's 98% unpredictable in how it shows up. In the shower, when you're walking, in the moment. It's impersonal. It's infinite. You know. If you think about it, if you think about humanity from when, just how far we've come as a species in 200 years is mind-blowing. Like 200 years ago, we were like horse and buggy, or like electricity was iffy. Like we didn't have electricity 20 years ago. Now we have high-speed internet. We're like, if that's not infinite creative intelligence, I don't know what is. Because if the way our minds worked, we could only operate on what we know, we as a species would not advance. Because Wi-Fi internet, it wasn't a part of what we knew. Like just from electricity, like you can't make that jump. So it's our capacity for insight to know things that we don't know. That's how we know that there's an innate, deeper intelligence.
I think wasn't it Ford that said something about if I asked people what they wanted, they would have asked for faster horses.
Yeah, because they didn't know cars was on the menu. And so instead of instead of attacking, I'm gonna use the word attacking our challenges and our problems with our own intellect and what we know, we take a step back and tap into our deeper intelligence, we get better answers.
Mm-hmm.
We get better solutions.
Mm-hmm. So, for this person who is chronic overthinker, etc., they would need to access more of a state of calm in order to be able to approach situations to the better of their ability.
I think the first thing they would need to know is that that's where you go to look to find answers, not to worry. Like, oh, I'm worried. Okay, I know this one. I know this one. I'm gonna go relax, versus I'm gonna try harder. I'm gonna,
That in itself is already huge because a lot of us think that we will find the answers through our worry. And the second you learn that that's not how it works, I mean, that changes the entire strategy.
Right. And I'm gonna say this though, it's not entirely our fault because a lot of in the heyday of motivational YouTube videos, it was all about hustle and grind and you can do it and it's all up to you. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. Like that's what was being fed to us and we believed that. Like, oh, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. It's on my shoulders and if the harder it is and the more I succeed, the more valuable it is.
That's a really good point though, because I think with personal development comes this, speech of you can create anything that it is that you want, which is positive, but in a way it puts all the burden on us and it doesn't allow for what you were saying before of sometimes you don't have control, or the Mother Teresa quote of I'm kind of driven by a deeper force to put something forth rather than if I want to make it happen,
it's up to me, right?
Up to me, push my way forward, etc.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's not true. I remember I was so pissed when I was talking to one of my coaches because my big dream, my vision, my purpose was to be an Olympic gold medalist. And I was talking to my mentor, Michael Neal, and I was like, why? I have done everything you're supposed to do. I went to training. I visualized the shit out of it.
Yeah.
I put on my vision board. I affirmationed. I am an Olympian. I am an Olympian. Every day for years. Why hasn't this happened yet? According to everything they said. And he said to me, maybe it's just not in the cards. And that pissed me off so much. I was like, that's not how this is supposed to work. And then I realized, he was right. Just some things just aren't in the cards. And some things are. And when I let go of that, when I held it more lightly, what emerged was so much more beautiful than I could have ever hoped to imagine. My love for Taekwondo became a Taekwondo business, where we teach Taekwondo to thousands of kids in international schools. It's over 10 years we've taught like 4,000 or 5,000 kids, right? I employ 30 university athletes who get to have a decent job and get paid well to do what they love while they train sports. It evolved into me teaching at universities and sharing this to people. Like, who would have thought? Like, how cool.
And you can stick to this is what I want as the outcome for it, but also you might not be the best person to be a Taekwondo Olympian.
Right. And I was looking at a lot of Olympian stories, and I realized, to be an Olympian, the amount of things that have to happen at the right time and place is so far beyond anybody's control. You have to be born in the right type of family, close enough to meet the right teacher in the right time. Like, it's definitely, if it's in the cards, it's gonna be.
Which I think takes a little bit of the pressure off. I think there's always a mix between them, right? Because I'm not necessarily of the belief of just the world will take you where you take you, and put your hands in the air and let the divine drive your life. I do think that there's an element of we have to put ourselves into it, but it's like finding that right middle ground between to what extent do you make something happen in quotation marks, and then to what extent do you let it carry
I would
you?
say. There's a way to say this, and I don't know how to say it. It's like things tend to go in motion when you're in motion. Like you still need to show up to the game, because when you're not in motion, it's really a lot of things not happen. It's like sitting at home, visualizing catching fish, and affirmationing it, and but you don't want to leave your house. Like that's
Yeah.
not, fish don't live on land, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like you need to show up
Yeah.
and see what happens. So even I use that as my coaching methodology, and I'll share it. And I learned it from Michael Neal is show up and respond to what shows up,
Yeah.
and that's it,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
In your business is show up and respond to what shows up. And it means show up and just be present to what's in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
We do really well.
Mm-hmm. Take the opportunities that are put at hand.
Right.
And not necessarily feeling like it's for you to control it.
Right. Because it's not show up and control it. It's
Yeah.
not show up and overthink it. It's not show up and and overthink it, over worry it. It's show up and respond to what shows up.
And I feel like that comes with a sense of humility to a certain extent, of there are certain things that are just out of my hand. Whereas a lot of the time, the worry and the anxiety comes from a place of wanting to control, and comes from kind of a lack of humility of the more I think about it, the more I will actually change the destiny
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
the world isn't
Exactly.
in your hands.
Exactly. There's a Thai saying that goes, what's yours is yours. What
Mm-hmm.
isn't isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And in every language and culture I've spoken to, they all have a similar version of that saying. It's what yours is yours, and if it isn't, it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so many times, like I've let go of things that I tried really hard that didn't work out, only to have something far better show up.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, so now I hold things much lighter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a saying in my community. It's like hold it lightly.
Mm.
Whatever you really want, just hold it lightly.
How do you hold something lightly if there's something that you really, really want? Because then otherwise you're kind of trying to control your perception towards it to a certain
Right.
extent.
So then it begs the question: is why are you holding on to it so tight?
Yeah.
Right? Is it because, oh, but that's what you do when you really want something. You got to work hard for it. You got to push it. You got to grind it. You got to give it everything you got. Like, but if I believed that, I would hold on to it for dear life.
Mm-hmm.
And in this understanding, it's like, oh, if I hold on to it lighter, I'll be in a better state of mind to approach it.
And I guess with that, if you go to it with the approach of, if it's for me, it's for me, and I just have to put things in motion, then that allows you to hold on to it a little lighter because you're
Yeah.
going to put things in motion, but it's not necessarily on in your hands.
Yeah, it's like you're more able to notice where the wind is blowing. It's like the sailboat analogy. It's like everybody's sitting in a sailboat trying to row it with their oars, but a sailboat is meant to go with the wind, not with it. And so for me, people listening to this conversation, it's about, do you know how a sailboat works?
Yeah.
Right? Do you know how your mind works, how the system works? Number two, getting good at noticing where the wind is blowing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the wind is going this way, so I adjust my sails. I know a lot of people, and yourself included, when COVID happened, who learned to adjust their sails, end up having an extraordinary pivot.
Yeah.
But the people who were still trying to row their boat during COVID had a really hard time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's very, very true. So adapting to a situation. You can only adapt if you don't hold too tightly anyways.
That's true, right? Like the definition of adapting is change.
Yeah.
But if you're not willing to change, then you're going to have a hard time.
Yeah.
And also, what I want to put this on the table is, just because you know this and you really see what we're talking about at a deeper level, life will bitch slap you at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Because life is a contact sport.
Yeah.
Life, you're going to get bumps and bruises.
Yeah.
And this conversation is about, how do you roll with it
Yeah.
when life does that?
Yeah.
What it does.
So everything we're talking about now, is it something that came to you really easily? Did you have moments where you had hiccups and weren't able to put kind of these concepts into place? Like, practically, how did this all show up for you?
Absolutely. This showed up from just trying everything under the sun. All the techniques, the meditation, the visualizing, trying stuff, having stuff not work out, being frustrated. And then for me, I was really into law of attraction before, so I was like trying to manifest my destiny. I was sitting at home and like, okay, gold medals, gold medals, gold medals. It turns out understanding how Taekwondo works is way better for Taekwondo than visualizing gold medals, And from my deep desire to seek and to know, I met a gentleman, Michael Neal, who wrote the book, The Inside Out Revolution, brilliant book, where he started to talk about, in that book he spoke about the things that we're speaking about, how your mind works, how how thought works. We're living in the feeling of our thinking, not of circumstances. That when you're in a low state of mind, things look really scary to us, but it's not how things actually are. I had this weird feeling of coming home to myself, sitting in my apartment. Of it was this weird calm feeling. It was like, this is weird. Why I feel really comfortable with myself. I feel like it would feel like I'm home
Mm-hmm.
within myself. I thought, huh. And I disregarded. I'm like, okay, that was weird. Cool, you know. And then I noticed after that, everything got easier. Taekwondo was easier, business was easier because I took that feeling into all those things I was doing. I stopped trying. I let go of my overly complicated morning routine. I it's like I stopped trying to do stuff and I just kind of sat in this space of wisdom and let that guide, and then everything got easier. And it both pissed me off and got me curious. It pissed me off because, like, why isn't all irritated?
All
Like, why
those
is it?
hours of visualizing.
Yeah, yeah, but I was working so hard at this. God damn it! All this effort, all this training for what? And it pissed me off so much, but it also got me curious. I'm like, why this should not work this way? It
Yeah.
should not be this easy. It should not be this simple either. Because I learned all this cool stuff, all these tools, and then and over time of learning from mentors and people like in this space called the Three Principles, Michael Neal, Mavis Karn, Dick and Bettinger, Pransky, who were all psychologists and psychiatrists, like really extraordinary people at what they do, who taught this. It just got more and more simple.
Mm-hmm.
It kept getting more and more simple. And then it was a journey, okay? Because I'd see something and then I would see deeper and deeper. There's no end. Like, this isn't a tool or a technique. Like, okay, I learned this, got my certificate.
Yeah.
On to the next tool. It's the more I sit in this space, the more I will see. Because that's the nature of wisdom. It is infinite. There's no bottom. Whereas everything else was just a tool or technique to learn to put in my pocket and then like go on the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever like relapse? Like, or I mean, I guess you have situations
Oh
where you
yeah.
find yourself back into another state of mind.
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
bring yourself
absolutely. So yeah, I'm not like, if you're listening to this, like I'm not like a Zen monk, you know, I float around on a
back.
cloud. Like I still get pissed off, I still get anxious, I still get depressed even, I still
Yeah.
get worried, I overthink things. And for me is I would say I'm a lot better at noticing the wind.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's a storm in my head, I know to take down my sails because if you put up your sails in a storm, it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just know.
Mm-hmm.
I know not to fight the storm. Thailand, if you're living in Southeast Asia and you live in a country where there's monsoons, you know when it rains, it like really rains.
Yeah, there's no point trying to fight it.
Yeah, and people here, they know not to fight it. They know to, if you just wait 40 minutes, whatever this is, it'll probably pass.
Yeah.
But we know to wait.
Yeah.
Like we're not in a rush to like, I'm gonna fight the rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so to start wrapping this up a
Yeah.
little bit,
Yeah.
Nikon, I think there's so much that you shared, which is just amazing. So, if you were to put together somebody listening to this, let's say 3 kind of wisdoms that you wish more of us knew,
Oh, that's a good question.
that we can start to ponder, you know, they can be as abstract or as practical as you wish, what would you share?
Hmm. 3 wisdoms,
Mm-hmm.
right? I would say number 1. Okay, first, number 1, and this comes from Dr. Bill Pettit, who's a renowned psychiatrist, because he said this to me and it made me cry. He said, be really gentle with yourself. Just be really gentle with yourself. The best you can.
Yeah.
Number 2, notice what you're like in different states of mind. When you're in a really low state of mind, don't believe you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in a really happy state of mind, also, you know, like rose-colored glasses.
Yeah.
And just get a feel for the like get a feel for what it's like to be in this space listening to this podcast, this quiet, calm space. And number 3, it would be to listen to yourself and others deeply. What that means is listen to yourself from a quiet mind. Listen to others from a quiet mind, and you'll hear your wisdom.
Mm-hmm. You'll be able to understand things beyond the words, right?
Yes. And a fourth one came to mind
Go
is
for it.
let wisdom guide you. Let this deeper innate intelligence that both of us have, everybody has, connects us all. Let that be your teacher. Let that guide you. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you
If
for having
listeners
me.
are interested in what it is that you're doing, they want to find out more, maybe they want to get you into their organization, how does it work? Where can they find you?
Sure. So I'm really active on social media on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, just Nikon, Nikon, Gormley, Gormley. If you search those in any of those platforms, you'll find me. If you go to my website, nikongormley.com, Nikongormley, you'll find a lot of my programs. I have a lot of free courses people can take. Join my newsletter, it's free, and that's probably a good place to start.
Amazing. I'll make sure we link
All
everything
right.
below. Thanks so much again for your time.
Thank you for your time. I had so much fun.
I
Thank you.
did as well.